Welcome to the resources for P3. By now you should have already read on your textbooks page 113 to 122 and you should have completed the P3 quiz on Edmodo. In this task you need to be able to explain the term market and research and understand its uses. This is particularly important when it comes to P4, which we'll be moving on to quite quickly. You must be able to provide examples of primary and secondary research and explain the limitations. And you should carry out or could carry out research into the market and research methods used by Apple and Coca-Cola. You need to bring those to the next lesson. When a business starts to carry out market research, there are a number of questions they have to ask. Depending on the answers to these questions will determine what methods they use, primary or secondary, qualitative or quantitative. Now you should have already completed your P3 quiz in Edmodo, so you should have an idea of what market and research is. However, I want you to bring a definition to the next lesson. You need to understand that when you carry out market research, it will take two forms. There are qualitative and quantitative research. Qualitative research provides information of a qualitative nature, such as why people buy things, what motivates them, and what influences them. Quantitative research is the data, statistics behind your research. It produces numbers and figures, percentages that you can then calculate and analyse further. Now when you're carrying out market research, there are two types. There are primary research and secondary research. Now primary market research is carried out to find new information required for your project in particular. It's information that's never been collected. It's also known as field research. But you'll notice there that the limitations of primary research, which is something that you need to address in your coursework, are that it's time consuming, expensive, very specific, but it's also very reliable. Secondary research, also known as desk research, makes use of work or research already carried out by somebody else. It's available there readily for you, it's often free, however it's not specific to your requirements. It is quick to find, but it can also be unreliable. Now when you're carrying out any sort of market research, there are certain suitability factors that you must address. Now again, these come up in your quiz, your P3 quiz on Edmodo. There are accessibility, fit for purpose, validity, cost, time and reliability. They're all things that you will need to address in your coursework. When you carry out your market research, it's impossible to survey everybody. It's very expensive and it will take a lot of time. Now instead you would use something called a sample. A sample represents the market that you're aiming your product at. So if your market is teenagers, males, you would find a small selection of male people aged in their teens and carry out research on them, and it's hoped that their answers would represent the whole of the market. Now obviously a bigger sample is likely to be more representative, which means you're likely to get truer information, more correct and accurate information. So when you're carrying out a sample, try to pick a substantial amount of people, but obviously still consider the cost and time factors. Depending on the purpose of your research, your sampling methods will vary. So take a look at those on the slide in front of you. Consider those because you will need to carry out a sample as part of your tasks P5 and P6. Now this task is fairly short, it's fairly straightforward. Use information provided in this PowerPoint, use information in your textbooks. The deadline will be the end of the lessons on Tuesday.